So in a recent episode of the new Superman cartoon, My Adventures with Superman, a certain scene has stirred up quite a bit of controversy online. That being the one where Lois Lane forces Clark Kent to reveal to her that he is Superman by jumping off a freaking building. And when he saves her, she gets mad at him for keeping the secret from her, even though they only known each other for a couple of weeks.
I knew it! Ugh. You lied to me, Superman!
And she is not entitled to such personal information. And there was also the fact that she was going to expose Clark's secret to the public without his consent, which really paints her in a bad light.
I didn't lie to you, I just didn't tell you everything.
A secret is another type of lie!
Lying to someone and being deceitful is completely different to keeping a secret, especially one as major as having a super alter ego, as the consequences that come with letting it slip can be catastrophic. And yet Lois acts as if Clark had backstabbed her. It was also extremely messed up of her to deliberately put herself in danger in order to force the secret out of him. But what's even more questionable is the fact that some people are actually defending this toxic behavior. A bunch of people have brought up the fact that apparently Lois Lane had done the same thing in several other incarnations of Superman. However, here's the thing, I haven't seen that many versions of Superman, so this is the first time I've seen this, and I think it's horrible, especially if it had been going on for this long. The fact that this is a trope does not shield it from criticism. As newsflash, there are plenty of tropes that have been around for years, but that doesn't make them automatically good, and people are allowed to dislike them. And the next episode that just aired makes Lois look even worse. As in it, Clark decides to come clean to his longtime best friend Jimmy about being Superman, only for him to reveal that he had already known about his superpowers since the day they first met. However, unlike Lois, Jimmy realized that this is something personal to Clark, and so he respected his privacy and waited until Clark was comfortable enough to open up about it to him.
I didn't say anything because it seemed like a sensitive subject, so I thought that if I waited, tell me when you were ready.
Jimmy is such a Chad here, understanding that Clark didn't keep his superpowers a secret from him out of malice. And unlike Lois who only just met him for the first time recently, Jimmy had been Clark's best friend for years, and yet he never felt like that knowing his secret was owed to him, which really just goes to show how entitled Lois was. Oh, and she also gets mad at Jimmy for knowing Clark was Superman this whole time and not telling her, even though this wasn't his secret to tell.
You've known this whole time? Why didn't you tell me?
This controversy had reminded people of other recent characters who had the same problem, those two being Tila from Masters of the Universe Revelation and Amber from Invincible. A common trend with these characters is that they're never criticized for their toxic behaviors by the narrative of the shows they're in. And there's also that section of the internet that acts as if there's nothing wrong with these characters, and so they strawman anyone who criticizes them as bigots. And the cycle is repeating once again with Lois Lane. However, I feel I should make these two things clear. One, the reality is that the majority of the people, men and women, who are criticizing these characters are pointing out the objective flaws in the writing that ruins their likability. And by ignoring that and dismissing fair and constructive criticism in order to remain in an echo chamber, we're just gonna end up with more unlikable characters and poorly written stories. Sure, there are definitely some misogynists out there, however, they do not represent everyone who has a problem with these characters. And two, I don't completely hate Lois Lane. While having flawed characters is important in order to make stories engaging, this is unfortunately a case where bad writing and execution can take a toll on a character's likability, rather than making them more compelling. While Lois having an emotional reaction to Clark keeping the secret from her can be understandable, her extreme actions make her instead come across as unhinged, rather than a believably flawed person. As I mentioned before, there are other recent examples of the trope where a character finds out that someone they're close to has an alter ego that they've been keeping a secret, and getting upset about it, but the botched execution just ends up hindering on their likability. Tila from Masters of the Universe Revelation is one example of this, as she found out her best friend Prince Adam was He-Man all along, and in the very moment that he sacrificed his life. Now you might think that it'd be easy to make the audience sympathize with her for having to go through that, but instead, she just ends up coming across as despicable due to how she conducts herself afterwards. Such as lashing out at Adam's mom, who had just lost her son, for not letting her know that he was He-Man, making it all about herself. And she continues to act this way multiple times while the audience is expected to side with her. Does she get called out on this selfishness, thus showing it's a character flaw that she'll have to overcome in order to grow as a person? Nope! This awful behavior continues throughout the series as if it's acceptable Invincible, making her an insufferable protagonist.
He-Man didn't hurt me, Adam. You did. And I couldn't even scream at you for it because you were gone.
I died.
Yeah, and the rest of us had to live with it.
And then there's Amber from Invincible, and unlike Masters of the Universe Revelation, which sucked big time, Invincible was actually a really good show, which makes what happened all the more baffling. So Amber is Mark's, aka Invincible's girlfriend in the show, and initially audiences sided with her when she was understandably upset with him for not showing up for their planned dates. Especially since Mark had been told beforehand that dating someone you can't reveal your secret to is a bad idea. The final straw seemed to be when Amber lashed out at Mark for supposedly abandoning her, when the college tour group was attacked by a cyborg. And so Mark reveals that he's invincible, thinking it would fix things between him and Amber. But then Amber reveals that she had already known that he was a superhero for weeks now. But wait, if you had already known that he was invincible this whole time, then you would also know that he didn't abandon you, as he was fighting off the cyborg.
You took off. You left us here with that thing. You said you wanted to start over. You promised. Even Eve vouched for you. And then you do this? Ugh, I know you're a superhero.
You know?
I'm not an idiot. I figured it out weeks ago.
This is such a massive misstep in the writing that ends up making her come across as unintentionally unlikable. Now, I cannot stress this enough. Yes, it can be understandable for a person to be upset that someone they're close to had kept a secret from them. However, the point is that in the case of these characters, the poor execution of this trope results in them coming across as unreasonably petty, making it difficult for many viewers to sympathize with them. The ultimate goal in criticizing the objective flaws of these characters and how they're written is to better understand the right and wrong ways to execute this trope, in order for future shows that use it to have better writing. Instead of sticking to the typical course of this trope, which leads into weak and tiresome drama along with awful characterizations, try to come up with a more interesting execution of this plot point that works well with the characters, making their reactions believable and understandable, all while having it fit within the show's narrative. Unfortunately, it might already be too late for My Adventures with Superman and Lois Lane now that the damage has already been done. And that's just about it for this video. I just want to do a quick rant about this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to give it a like, share, and comment. Also, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for notifications. And if you are interested in supporting my channel, then head over to my Patreon. Well, I got nothing else to say, so see ya!